We're in this time. Any second now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Longbangers Thursday phone-in association with Lee Spirits. I'm Matty, and there's too many people on here for me to introduce or welcome on, so we'll just go one at a time. Wee bit to talk about tonight. We had the win over Motherwell last night, 3-0, which was also Lewis and Paul's last game at Easter Road. The debate around Malky Mackay still rumbles on. And there was an interview with Malcolm McPherson in today's Observer, so we might hear some views on that. And then anything else that people might want to talk about. Maybe David Gray getting the job full time on the back of another impressive stint in the caretaker role. Who knows? So I suppose without further ado, we shall start. James, I'm going to bring you in first, and just bring you in first just because on the last episode. We spoke sort of in between shows. I think something that you said was, well, I definitely misinterpreted it. I think it's sort of aiming for a bit of sarcasm about enjoying Malcolm's texts and being an old racist. Unfortunately, I thought that that wasn't sarcasm. But I've since found out from speaking to you that it was a kind of an attempt at a joke that I just didn't get. So.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'd like to apologise to anyone that took offence to it. I mean, that's the last thing I ever want to do on here. We're all Hibs fans, we're all in the same boat. And obviously, you've got this podcast to look after. So the last thing I ever want to do is upset you guys, upset the people that come on here, and really anyone that listens. And if I did offend anyone, I sincerely apologise. It was just, I lost my train of thought. I tried to make a joke to get out of it, and it was a really shit joke, especially on a really shit subject. And I'll hold my hands up and I'll apologise. I was going to completely avoid the subject completely, as I said, but I didn't know you were getting a bit of grief, and the last thing I want is that to happen. So again, apologies to yourselves and everyone at Longbangers.
No worries. Okay, let's move on. How did you go to the game last night, James?
Yeah, was looking forward to it. I was quite relaxed about it. I mean, I was going to the game just for Paul and Louis, but I actually enjoyed the game. I was actually sitting watching the way the team's set up, how it was going to be different. And the 3 goals were just icing on the cake, and the send off was spot on. So, an enjoyable evening.
Why do you think it was such a different performance? So obviously, there was no Nick Montgomery to influence it, but what was so different about the performance?
I just thought that it looked like players had a bit of freedom. They weren't shackled by do this, do that. It seemed to be like, okay, we're going to keep it tight at the back, bring the full backs in a bit tighter. That was obvious. And going forward, there was definitely freedom. Cadden got beyond his man and put crosses in. That's not happened for weeks. Okay, Beta wasn't on the left. I'm sure would have done the same there. But even Lewis was bombing down that wing as he's always done. And they were getting beyond the last man and putting decent crosses in from both sides. Whereas normally it's a slow 20 passes, get it to Jordan, and he whips a cross in, which there's nobody in the box for.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always just slight tweaks. And it was, even that was obvious.
What did you think of the send off for Paul and Lewis?
I will admit I left it full time because I worked this morning, but I just thought the fans loved. I mean, I was dreading going into the game because of what's been tweeted from fans groups, etc. I was expecting it to be hostile. I mean, I helped a couple of English boys try to get tickets for the game. They were walking up, trying to get tickets on the app, and it says, "No, just tick offices there." And I said, "It's going to be pretty hostile in here. I don't think the fans are going to be happy." And I'm glad it was completely the opposite. It was a great atmosphere. I mean, the best bit for me was the standing ovation Hadland got for that tackle. Okay, it was offside, but I've never seen a stadium in one stand up for a last ditch tackle. It was brilliant. Loved it.
That was probably my favourite moment of the match. That tackle, to be honest with you. I was going to mention offside. That linesman on that side seemed to give us loads of offside decisions in our favour that I thought were like, I wasn't sure the boy was offside there. And the goal that they got disallowed, I thought was onside as well. And then I watched it back and he was definitely offside. It was like a correct decision. In terms of the job that David Gray did, James, would you be an advocate for having him in place, or wrong time for him?
Is there ever a wrong time to become a manager? I mean, if he wants the job, if he puts his name down, I would give it to him. He's going to have a director of football above him who's got experience. I'm softening towards Malky Mackay after listening to a few things. He's going to have that experience above him. He knows the club. He's got passion. His interview skills are probably the best we've heard from manager since Jack Ross. I think I would give him it if he wants it. Give him it. I mean, there's been talk about, we don't want another experiment manager. All management appointments are an experiment. Whether go for the experienced experiment or completely new to the job. Only problem is all managerial positions come to an end, and it's either for good or bad. He could go to a bigger club because he does it amazing, or he tarnishes his legend status by doing a poor job. It's I'll give him. For me, I would give him the job because he's got the experience above him in McDermott and Mackay.
It is.
If he wants it.
I'll bring in Jeff next. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, and interesting couple of days at Easter Road, as usual.
What did you want to talk about tonight?
I was like James just said, I was delighted the atmosphere was a lot better than I thought it was going to be last night. You know, I'm disappointed at the size of the crowd, but that's not unexpected given everything that's going on, and not everybody can make a midweek game. And the cheer for the tackle, the sending off at the end. I couldn't stop for the presentation, but we gave him a cheer when he came across the east because I had a wee bit of a journey back down the road. So yeah, delighted. It was like a pre-season friendly with just a little bit more bite, maybe. So I'm not going to get carried away, but Sunday would have been like a pre-season as well. Nothing for teams to play with. So Davy Gray has done a good job, and like James said, it's nice to have somebody who talks sense before and after a game. You might not always agree with what he says, but he talks sense. And if it was an audition for the job, he's done himself no harm at all. You know, I've said in the past, no project managers again, please. Would he be a project manager? I don't know. With Malky Mackay above him, the stuff on Twitter or social media about Mackay is I despair. You know.
In what sense?
Two very entrenched views with nobody in the middle. Well, I class myself as being in the middle ground. When he was touted as manager last year or the year before, I definitely said, no way do we want that man near the club. And that was on the basis of what headlines I'd seen in the paper. And I've done some as I said in the last phone-in, I've done some research. And there's some horrible stuff on those messages between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
He was responsible for 3 of those messages. One of them being he called the owner of Cardiff a chink when he's clearly not Chinese either, but it's it's ignorance and racism. But the other stuff that he's been sent, which is awful as well, he's tarred with that brush. Now, whether it's fair or not, I'm not here to make that decision, but the absolute bollocks that's been spouted on social media is just depressing. But the club would have known this, and I said the previous pod that with all that's going on, the last thing we needed was somebody who's going to divide the support, and whether it was a good job or not at this time is causing a lot of division, as we thought it might.
I thought last night was interesting. You mentioned the atmosphere. And when I was writing the Hibs Observer article this morning, one of the observations I made was that last night felt like the end of something and the start of something else. And obviously we've got the season finishing. We had Paul and Lewis finishing up. We've had the manager go, and it looks like now is sort of like an opportunity for a clean slate.
Yeah.
How damaging do you think it is, or otherwise, might not be damaging, to have made an appointment like Malky at a time like that, where you really want it to be a springboard for success?
Only time will tell, Matty. I think if we make some really good signings in the next week or so, and looking further forward, get a good start in the League Cup group stages, then a lot of this noise will be forgotten. There'll be some that won't forget, and I understand the point of view. I'm not sticking up for racists, homophobes, or anybody. I'm absolutely, if anybody, although I am an ex-cop, if anybody knows my background, they know exactly where I stand in all this quite firmly. I've been involved in stuff. Anyway, I won't say any more. So, yeah, the noise will disappear, and David Gray manages a winning team. We get out of the group stages with a couple of games into the league. We win. It will seem a genius appointment. But if we fail, if we lose, the new manager gets off to a bad start, it's just going to amplify. So it's a gamble that the club are obviously willing to take. Now, whether it's the other flying ointment is he's seen as a friend of Malcolm McPherson, and that's why he's got the job. When you listen to other non-Hibs people talk about Malky Mackay, they're very, very praiseworthy of him and the work he does and his knowledge. So we'll just park he's a friend and that's why he's got the job sidebar at the moment. But that will come back to bite us if it doesn't get off to a good start. He only got the job. There's a lot of stuff there that can go wrong. We need to get off to a good start and start signing some decent players, please.
Yeah. On the back of what you said there about listening to non-Hibs people, now, although we do our best to make it look like this podcast is totally unprepared, so not the phone in, which we don't do any preparation for, but like our weekly one that Colin, myself and John do, we do look into topics and things to try and get like a good sense of what we're talking about. The fact that we're idiots after that is neither here nor there, right? But we do try not to be total idiots. So when Malky came on board, one of the things I did was try to reach out to people who have worked with him or have a connection there. And I can only echo what you say, Jeff, that the feedback that I got on Malky Mackay as from individuals who have worked with him, and I'm only taking their word for it, was that he was top guy. But that phrase came up about 4 times from the different people that came out spoke to. But the thing that stressed was how competent he was and how good a fit for this type of job he would be. Now, this isn't a PR exercise from me. I'm one of the first people who have kind of called out the old pals act kind of thing, and this was to really kind of satisfy myself as much as anything that we have somebody who can do the job in the job. So it backs up what you were saying there.
And on that matter, I did text or message somebody who may know him really well, who maybe has played for him recently, and it just what you said, competent, good man manager, great bloke, with all the players, not just the white ones. Good with the staff behind the scenes. He was well liked, but he's got that baggage, and it's always going to be there. But I was glad when I had that conversation with my friend. It's what everyone else was saying. You read the opinions, but when you talk to, as you say, when you actually speak to people face to face or message them or whatever I did, it kind of allayed some of the fears. It can still go horribly wrong.
Of course, yeah.
What could possibly go wrong? Jeez.
I didn't tempt fate. Thanks, Jeff. We're going to bring in John next. John, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. It's 3-0 victory last night. People got a smile on their face, ticking along, trying to sort of, like everybody else, one of the stepping stones through the Malky Mackay. Had a read of the Malcolm McPherson interview earlier on. I thought a couple of interesting aspects. There's the redemption arc that he clearly talks about. It's clearly something that he's thought about as a club, and they see that in terms of the character that he's put into the jobs that he's done since. He also said that they expected the reaction. What I would say is that if they expected the reaction, then I'm looking for a comm team to do a bit more. I think that the discussion shouldn't be about Malky Mackay, because ultimately you either fall into the camp that somebody does something bad and can never come back from it, and you've got red lines that people aren't allowed to cross, and you're allowed to have those. The other side of it is that the club itself says it has zero tolerance for racism, zero tolerance for homophobia. And I was just double checking there. In terms of the incident at Ross County, the club condemns any form of racist or discriminatory behaviour towards any player, official, staff member or supporter. It's completely unacceptable and has no place in the game or wider society. The club will take the strongest possible action against anyone identified making discriminatory or hateful comments. Now, that's the problem that the club have created with this, and that's the comms that they need to sort out. I mean, I sort of touched on it the last one. I would like to think that the 27-year-old there who's going to face himself in court, who's probably going to get a football banning order for between 12 months and 36 months, I mean, doesn't get told that you're not welcome at Easter Road anytime in the future. Because ultimately they're turning around with Malky Mackay and saying, well, actually there is a redemption arc here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want Tommy Robinson anywhere near the ground. I mean, so let's be quite clear, it's not the idea that anybody can come back. But if there's a redemption arc, let's look at what the club does in terms of its comms, let's look what it does in terms of education, and let's look what it does in terms of the messages. I think it's notable that a lot of the groups that are pushing back really hard are those who will probably feel as if they've been given very, very high promises in terms of zero tolerance, or those who might feel that they have been on the wrong end of this sort of behaviour and this zero tolerance attitude, people getting banned for long periods of time. So I think to me, that's where it sits now. Malky Mackay's got the job. He sat down with the club. The club have put out his statement. The club will put out a statement from the chairman. Quite clearly, the redemption arc there. He's got the job. Yeah, how are you now? To me, the next problem isn't the summer. The problem is that the next fan that we have, because there's too many people attend, who does something like that. I mean, we chased down and Dundee United went as far as we could.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we supported that.
Would the challenge not be to that one, John, that if Malky did it today, Hibs would be forced to deal with it? But they can't, yes. For something that happened a decade ago there, and has since been apologised for the redemption arc, as you call it, is getting underway. The SFA, UEFA, Ross County, and FIFA have all worked with Malky since. So it's almost like, I think if I was Hibs taking that challenge and doing a bit like devil's advocate, I would say we would totally agree with you. But the two things are not incompatible. That you could take Malky Mackay today and have a zero tolerance approach to racism. If Malky messaged somebody on WhatsApp today, what he messaged in, when was it, 2014, Hibs would have to sack him and wash their hands of him.
So we take the incident in Ross County. Now, I mean, I don't know whether that is embedded within the person's character and views or whether it's been 10 seconds of madness. I mean, at a football match. If it's been 10 seconds of madness at a football match, they deal with what happens to them at court. They go through that process. How does that person re-engage with the club? And I mean, show themselves to be a good character and actually deserving of being able to come back into the ground. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So does that person have to wait 2 years, as Malky Mackay did, to get his next job? Does he have to wait 10 years? Or does the club, because they're going to take the strongest possible action, sit and idle?
There was a suggestion, I can't remember where I saw it, that effectively the individual in question, and so this is an allegedly, I don't know, I haven't fact checked it, but had written to Danda, had written to Ross County and to Hibs with a full apology, and said it was out of character, etc. And the parties have all sort of agreed to accept that and move on. Now, I don't know if that's actual factual, but I suppose that kind of that gives you a flavour of how they might approach situations like that, John. I don't know.
And I think that's the way we want it to do, and that's what I'm saying is there's maybe something around about how the messaging's done.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine that over the coming months, Malky Mackay will have meetings and interactions with lots of people. I mean, in some of the group. I mean, that have put themselves forward, that have been upset. I mean. And he said it 10 years ago. It's the people who don't know me that I've got to convince. But as I say, I think it's moved on from there. Malky Mackay's got the job. The chairman said they're behind him. It's a board decision. It's that. They've all got the responsibility now. It's how do we move on from it? And there will always be people who it's a red line and they can't cross. And I respect somebody if they've got that opinion.
Cool. Okay, Dave, we're going to bring you in next. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Well, I had the pleasure being in the Chairman's Club last night as a guest timber supplier, so it was quite interesting, and I managed to have a chat with Malcolm and Malky last night, funny enough. But I think just society's moved on so much. 10 years is a kind of long time. I think he's paid you know, he's drawn a line under it. He's apologised. He should be held accountable in the same rules as everybody else, as you said, Matty, in the club. And we can't really try a man for something that's kind of happened a long time ago. He's worked for our national body of football. They've been happy with his conduct since his behaviour's been changed, or his views have kind of had the spotlight shone on it, and he's kind of changed his kind of behaviour or whatever. But if I'm thinking, if we're kind of taking away the moral compass, our director of football, I was really impressed with him. What he said last night. He's you know, he's got a real kind of stature and a presence about him, and everything I've read since the shock news that we all got the other day, I'm quite excited about it. And I think his interview that went out yesterday, although some people are saying he never apologised enough, but he's asked him to be judged for the man he is now, and I think that's fair, and I think we should. I thought it was a great interview, and I think a lot of the things that he said he would bring to the club is exactly what we've been lacking and missing for the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm quite excited about it. And I'm sure whatever manager we get, it's going to be a great asset there. And he's clear in his views what he's going to bring and what the expectations are. And it's the first time we've really heard we spoke about a mission statement or the like, and he's really kind of put there what his expectations are for himself and where he's going to try and take the football side. And in terms of David Gray, it's probably the best opportunity to have David Gray as a head coach. But I just feel if Nick had have left, I don't know, if I never made when we never made the top six and gave David that section of the games to prove himself, and you could think if we won them all, well, his hat's in the round. I just feel it's maybe he'll be a victim of the sort of recent failures of managers, and he might not be afforded the opportunity he probably deserves. But that's kind of my feeling with David Gray getting the appointment. And what was just to touch on the Friends Act as well. I briefly spoke to Malcolm, and he was generally surprised at the level of pushback. And again, he said it to me as like, I really know this man well. I know the qualities he's got to bring to the club. I think it's a really exciting appointment. And you think back to, I mean, he sacked Soze. He's been around football for such a long time. He knows the game. He knows that side, and he's made tough decisions. And I kind of believed him that Malky was the right guy for the club, and I'm fully on board with it. And I'm quite excited that he's going to change the football side of our club. So.
I suppose, like, to play devil's advocate against my own argument with it, because I just thought the optics of it weren't very good. But I think that there is a case to be made that if you're in a position to, like, leverage your relationship with somebody who's a good fit for the job, then you'd be stupid not to do it. At the same time, like, if you know somebody who would be a good fit, and you see it in all walks of life where people bring in people that they know can come in and do a job, and no matter what industry you see that. And I suppose that you'll always have that accusation of like nepotism, but it may just be that you can save everybody a lot of pain by just going with who you know is going to fit the bill. So it's an interesting one. And listen, although I've asked the question, I don't know what the recruitment process was like, who else was sounded out, and it may be that there was like a really thorough recruitment process, etc. So it's kind of speculation. James, you've got your hand up. I'll come to you, and then I'll get some YouTube comments, and then Charlie, I'm going to come to you next.
Yeah, I'll be brief because I've had my time. You can turn it on his head and talk about this kind of friendship. Does that not mean there's going to be a good relationship between our director, who's picking the players, and the board, who are going to be forking out the money? I mean, one of the things I did when I went home, on the way home last night, I listened to Sporting Directors podcast, the interview with Malky Mackay.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely brilliant interview, and that's why I've kind of changed, because some of the things he's talking about, okay, he's talking the talk, was absolutely brilliant. But one thing that kind of rang out a little bit, when you're restructuring a team at that end, you get the sporting director in first, and then the new manager. And he says that's the way it's got to be done. And I just think it's very telling. The day Montgomery went, they start putting that process in place. So, and that Ross County wasn't just the manager up there. He was actually doing a lot more technical director side of it, as well as running. He's almost helping run the club, and he's run the club down south as well. It wasn't just managerial roles; it was doing a lot more besides. And at one night, it was Wigan. He says they had to sell £5 million of players and cut the wage bill by £5 million. I mean, his hands are tied. Any manager going into that has got their hands tied, and he survived it. So, like yourself, I was like, "Oh, it's time for Ross County." Can't stand this terrible appointment, as I said on Tuesday. But once you read into it, what the guy says, he's definitely at the moment talking the talk, and I think the guy's got to be given a chance.
Okay, right. We've got on YouTube comments. Haley Young said, "Tracy, have you recovered from yesterday?"
Yeah, it was emotional yesterday. Plus, I had to say goodbye to them because obviously we're in the famous five lower, so it was emotional saying goodbye to people that we've sat with for so long, and then Paul and Lewis went as soon as they went off the pitch during the game. That was me, just gone. And then Molly started crying because she's obsessed with Lewis.
Oh no. But we'll hear a wee bit more about that in a second. Hibs 2016 said, "Give David Gray the job and give a good length of time." Robert Watson says, "If Malky Mackay is such a good manager, why did he fail miserably at Ross County?" He did kind of leave Ross County in a poor position, but I think he got a top 6 finished first season with them. He's not going to be our manager. I think that's kind of one of the things to point out, isn't it? Like it's a different job he's doing this time. Ian Tolkill said, "I thought we had signed Ted Bundy for a while." Jack C said, "Hello, Hanlon and Stevenson, always be legends." Keith O'Flaherty says, "In regards to Malky, he's apologised, served his punishment. Everyone deserves a second chance in my book." Ian said, "Fans have been calling for change, so Hibs do that, and all hell breaks loose. For fuck's sake, give the club and the man a chance." Jack says, "Next season going to be different without longest servants, Hanlon and Stevenson." Erin Leslie said, "I'll ask Malky for a left centre back." Yes, do that. And Jack said, "If going to do rebuild, we need to do it right away. Build him from the back, and who should be the next manager to do that?" Plus was in tears after saying final goodbyes to my boyhood heroes. Charlie, first time on the phone, and I think, how you doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate. I think I was on the other week. I can't mind, but I think I've
Oh,
been
yeah,
on one of
you were.
those.
Aye, you were one of the first ones.
Aye, but no, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. What did you want to talk about?
It's not been mentioned yet, but I was going to bring up the article in the Observer earlier on today. I know, Matty, we had a wee chat about it earlier on, but I think Malcolm makes some interesting points in the article, especially around the hiring and firing of Monty, which was I was a bit confused because he said that it was the right thing to do, but also they've made an error in judgment in bringing him in the first place. But I just don't think it was an error in judgment to bring him in at all. I think he was the one that the club headhunted, and I'm assuming Malcolm played a part in that, although not being the one headhunting him. But I just think it seems a bit counterproductive to say it was a mistake to bring him in, but it was also the right thing to do to sack him. I just think if we obviously promised Monty a 3-year contract and it's not worked out, whatever, but I just think he probably could have worded that a wee bit better. But other than that, I agree with him when he's saying the abuse to players, staff needs to stop. I think we've seen the PR disaster for Hibs this week, tagging Rocky in that tweet, and the backlash that followed from that. I just think there's a lot that lacks to be desired at the club just now. But aye, I'm willing to give Malky Mackay a chance. I think it's definitely a divisive appointment, like Jeff said. It's just it feels a bit strange to me to bring in someone with that history.
How do you think it will affect things going forward, Charlie? Do you think the noise will die down, or do you think it will rumble on for some time?
Depends if you look at Twitter or not, and Facebook. I think there's a lot of people saying on Twitter and Facebook they're handing their season tickets back, and they're quite entitled to do that if that's what they want to do. And people have said they're not going to spend any more money at the club. Like, totally entitled to that opinion. I think if we start going on a good run of form, people will come back. I think you've seen it in the Championship with Lennon, and that when we started winning games, Easter Road was full mostly every week. So I think it'll be interesting to see if we go on a bad losing run. Will it be Malky Mackay's fault? will it be Ben Kensel's fault like it seems to be just now? So I think the noise will probably die down if we go on a decent run of form, but I think it'll get ramped up if things continue the way they have been going for a few years.
One of the things from Malcolm McPherson's interview that I picked up was how strongly he was stressing that the board are fully behind Ben Kensel, and he almost, so he didn't quite absolve him of blame, but he said it was a collective blame for the poor performance on the football side. What did you think of those comments? Would you agree with them or would you disagree with that, Charlie?
I'm a bit confused why they're backing him fully when he's been in post, and we've had what, 4 managers since he's been here, maybe is it 3 or 4? I can't mind. But it feels like they're blindly backing someone who's been, for a large part, a fault of the footballing department, which is probably why they brought Malky Mackay in to sort that out. And I know Ben Kensel's more of the commercial side, but I just think him being CEO, like, he's had a big say in how this football club's been operating in the past 2.5 years since he's been here. So I think to absolve him of blame is a bit concerning for me anyway.
One of the things that I thought was curious, and kind of, I'm jumping about a wee bit. So Malky Mackay did his interview with Hibs TV. Have you seen that, Charlie?
I watched it last night.
He sort of rattled off what his job encompasses, and it sounded very much like what we should have had happening from this time last year when Brian McDermott was brought in. Did that raise an eyebrow with you at all?
I don't know if Malky Mackay knows exactly what Brian McDermott will be doing going forward, which also raises an eyebrow because rumour is that McDermott's been on gardening leave for a month and a half. So I'm a bit confused. Is he staying? Is he going? But you're right. We should have had this in place last year. Like, when McDermott came in, that is exactly the role he should have been doing. And if he is going to move over to be a scout for us, ideal, because he's done it at Arsenal and Celtic. So it would be a good move for him. But I'm just a bit confused why there's all this talk of McDermott when actually no one knows where he is.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. Tracy, I'll bring you in next. So, an emotional night. What did you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, very emotional, and I would say that the supporters were absolutely amazing last night. I've not felt like that at Easter Road for a long time, but it felt really quite special and really good to be back there last night.
Was it engaging, Tracy? That's what I want to know. Did you feel more connected on a night like that?
I felt, well, it kind of took me back to why I love Hibs in the first place. And it'd be a night like that going with my stepdad as well, like he would have loved that as well, just the atmosphere. It just felt the atmosphere kept going all night as well. Like, everybody just got behind the team, got behind Dave. It just felt really kind of together, which was great because I haven't felt that for a long time. I'm behind Malky. Shoot me now, anybody that wants to, or block me on Twitter or the rest of it. You know, I totally agree. What he's done in the past, you know, we all had that conversation. The more you listen to him in interviews, the way he talks about the job, what he's going to do, I think is exactly what we need. I think he's the right person to do it. I was kind of thinking about, like, my time on the board, and obviously being the fans rep, but being a director at the same time was difficult because, as I said the other night when we were off, you know, sometimes what supporters want and what's right for the club are two different things, and it's trying to get that balance. So being a fans rep but being a director sometimes kind of clashed, because you couldn't always give supporters what they were looking for too. And I thought, you know, they would have discussed it. They would have had all these conversations. It's probably not something that they've taken lightly. And then I thought what we were talking about when being Malcolm's friend. And then I think, you know, when you're in football, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know as well. And that's how you get, just because you've got these connections, it gets you in places or gets your foot in places to start these conversations. So, and then as somebody said, there'll be that trust there with Malcolm as well, which will be good, because if he's got that trust already with the board, that's a really good thing. And I think he really will ruffle feathers, and maybe he'll be kind of part of that review as well to take things, because he will be in charge at HTC. So I think it is a really good thing. And I think, obviously, I'm 110% behind Dave getting the job, and I think with Malky behind him and helping him, I think it'll be the best thing for Dave as well. You know, yeah, we don't want him to have to leave, you know, if it goes wrong. Dave knows the risks, he's no stupid. For me, he'll always be a legend, and I think sometimes we need to change our mindset as supporters and our expectations. We need to remember that we've got to give them time. It's not just going to be a quick fix because of what's happened previously. But I think because we've kind of changed the structure now, I don't think Dave's in the same position as previous managers were.
Yeah.
But do you know, it was really good, refreshing just to get an interview from somebody today in the Hibs Observer, and it was quite refreshing. I was like, yeah, we've got somebody coming out and speaking to us.
On that, Tracy, did you get a chance to see Malky's
I did.
piece?
Yeah.
It was one of the things that I think we talked about on here about the need for Hibs to kind of to front up to it, and they led with the question about his history and the reaction. What did you think of that in the interview? So the fact that they asked the question in the first place, but also what did you make of his answer?
Do you know, he's probably answered it on numerous occasions, even the directorship one, the VSI one that I watched as well. You know, the guy went straight in with that as well. You know, he's probably getting fed up at answering it for all that time. And I get that people sometimes maybe don't, if they've not looked into it, all they know him probably is for the controversy. But when you really look into it, you know, he would never have got the job with the SFA. We are, and as somebody said the other night, we're not the first people to employ him since. Yep. Maybe that would be more controversial. But I just think he's exactly what we need. He comes across very well. I don't have a problem with him being in the club whatsoever. And I hope that the club's had those conversations with people in the club so they knew what to expect. And they do know the background so that they're not jumping to conclusions. I think the comms probably could have been a little bit better in the sense that the video came out with the statement, because so many people have now seen the video, seen like him speaking, and it's kind of changed their opinion slightly. So I'm not saying that anyone else's, you know, comments are not justified, because if that's how they feel, they're perfectly fine to feel that way. I hate racism. I hate everything that was to do with that controversy, but I think we do have to just say, look, he's paid for it. You know, he is who he is now, and we just have to take him at face value. And if he slips up, then he'll be gone. Because I wouldn't imagine, and I would hope that the club would not accept it. And just going back to Malcolm's as well, just you know, the way he spoke about Ben, the way he put that deal together, it was actually quite nice to read about that, because people probably just thought, oh, he's just got investment. You know, and I've probably been negative about the club recently as well, just because I feel that, you know, I don't mind the team, and the results don't bother me as much as probably some people. And I think probably because I know some of the lads, so I probably look at it a little bit different than the normal supporter. And I probably think about them as a person more than the player kind of thing. So I don't come away going, oh God, that's ruined my weekend kind of thing. It's more to do with, I felt that there was a kind of disconnect with the club. We've just got this investment, yet none of us seem that enthralled by it. None of us are excited about the future. But it was just quite nice to hear about like how they were backing Ben, like what he did on that deal. And I thought maybe some people have been harsh on Ben. Maybe there's things that we don't know that have gone on, maybe that haven't been Ben's decisions, that Ben hasn't been involved in, we don't know. But it was quite refreshing that they actually came out and said it, because obviously we felt with Nick that they weren't really backing him. At that point. So it was quite nice that they came out and said that about Ben, and I agreed with him on the abuse as well. As soon as you make it personal, you've crossed a line. And some of social media the last 48 hours has been, well, prior to yesterday's game was just horrendous. And when you make it personal, you should just not be allowed back.
It was one of the things I thought last night. So this is just like a personal view, and no saying what everybody should be doing, but last night it was a really nice night. Like I really enjoyed it. Had met my dad for a pint first, caught up with some friends in the Alba Bar. Managed to get a couple of passes off Budgie that's on here sometimes. So like before the game was good. The game was good. The atmosphere was good. The send off for Lewis and Paul was good. I had that feeling about like I mentioned at the top of the podcast that it was the end of something and the start of something. And I feel like I've moaned my tits off about Hibs for months now, and I have been really critical. And I'm like, I quite like the thought of having a bit of respite for that and just going, let's be positive about it and have something to look forward to.
I've just been I've actually just been sad about it.
Aye.
Oh, it's not been that I'm just like, oh, I hate the club or whatever. It's just been sadness actually, because you just kind of think, what's happening here? You know, this is our club that we love, and there's just something not right about it. But I'm just fed up being. Last night, I came home and I thought, really enjoyed that tonight.
It was nice.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Shay, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. Wasn't over last night's result. It was totally different from Sunday and Monday night. But it was great. Good atmosphere from the fans. Especially from box 7, like straight from the start. Even before kick-off. They were a bit louder than usual. But right from the start, leading songs like the Hanlon song and the Stevenson song. Even Cadden for making his 100th appearance. But yeah, it was a great night for everybody. And then the end off at the end. It was great for the players to sort of get their own. So like Hanlon and Stevenson to get their own sort of send off with their family before the first team came, well, the rest of the team came on. But that was great.
It was quite. I liked how they did it with the wee lap honour, because with a season like we've had, if it wasn't for Lewis and Paul, most folk would have fucked off, like at full time or just before, and the place would have been empty, and it would have been, well, with their lap honour, we know, and they'll come out to like 10 fans or whatever. But as it was last night, there was still loads of folk back, and actually the rest of the team got a decent reception going round, even though it had been a fairly poor season. So it probably definitely helped that we won. What did you think was different in the performance last night, Shay?
It's like I think it's what James said. It's like a bit more freedom. I think the players looked a bit more comfortable to actually play. I think they looked like relying on each other a bit more as well, like in a good way. It's like you realise that they're a team, so they can rely on like one or two players behind them or next to them to, like, if they lose the ball, with like to pass. There's like the player options there. There's like a couple of times in the first half. Like I'm in the east, so it's like when we were attacking the away fans, you had like Stevenson, Newell, and like Mizani, like all just sort of like a wee rondo in between the players, so they know like the options there. But I think we looked at a bit more comfortable and a bit more forward thinking. So, like, I don't remember much Motherwell attacking except from maybe twice in the first half. Then second half, like they disallowed goal. But we looked great.
What would you make of David Gray's chances of getting the job full time? Would you give him it?
I just seen a tweet. I seen a tweet earlier saying like his record. It's like 11 games. He's like won 5 and like lost 4. So it's like the record's actually not bad considering 2 of the games were, one of them was Villa away.
Yeah.
Then it was the Celtic Cup final. So I was like, as much as we should be fighting, like sort of fighting against the top teams, like it's 2 teams that were sort of, you look into it and it's like you sort of expect them to beat us.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Hibs. It's just like Celtic and Aston Villa are 2 massive clubs, 2 top sides, and Celtic proved it last night. But I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind seeing David Gray in pre-season just to give him a bit more time with the team instead of just going like 3 or 4 games, then making an appointment. So do like, not to bring up our rivals, but like Hearts, they done it with Naismith. Like they gave him time. He was getting results, and it's like, and I appointed him.
I've just pretended it's not happened with them this season and I looked at it at all. I can't how they finished. I'll just assume they've done all right. Fuck them.
Who are they? Who are
Aye. All right, Colin, I'm going to bring you in as well. You can sat patiently. As Shay, you were nice and patient there as well. To take ages to get to you, but taking even longer to get to Colin, and that's why I'm stringing it out now.
I'm known for my patience.
Speaking every last second to make it away. What did you think of last night, Cole?
I think, was it Jeff that said that it was like a pre-season friendly? Like, you know what I mean? There was no pace in the game. Good to get a win again, but it doesn't mean nothing, you know. It's good for the 2. It was good for the 2 boys, but other than that, I think we can read too much into it.
See, like a wee question. It's neither here nor there, right? It's not really a proper grumble because I'm glad they did it. But see, Paul and Lewis went off in injury time, right? And because it was 3-0, it didn't really make much difference. But see if it'd been 1-0 and Motherwell were needing to win, how fucking mental would you be going if it was the other team and the players are going around getting. I can't remember, we had a derby where it happened, and whoever the Hearts player was, it was their last game there, and he was going shake.
Was it the Greek guy?
Aye.
Fisas, was it?
Fucking hell. And I
Yeah.
was doing my absolute dinging about it, like,
Yeah.
fucking get him off there, fucking book the cunts, time wasting,
Did
right?
they add any injury
Oh,
time for it?
no, but it was
No.
last night was sympathy injury time, so it was already in. The three minutes were up, John. So it was already in, but because we were 3-0 up, it was sympathy injury time, like we got on Sunday against Aberdeen. So it didn't really make any difference to it. But I was thinking, like, do you think to speak to the referee beforehand and say, and Motherwell to say this is happening, go and no kick off about it, and you could just add the time on, or do you think they just go fuck
They
it,
might.
we're doing it?
I think they just done it. I don't think there was any. I don't think they planned the players to come over and like the players. That seemed to be a natural instinct to the players to want to go and sort of pat them on the back on the way off rather than being pre-planned.
Because the keeper come up and everything, I was like, if that was other way, if that was Motherwell, I would be fucking, oh, you bastard.
I know,
I'm like,
imagine
totally
it.
miserable. They
Do the
take
whole
time for this
podcast on it.
nonsense. Aye.
No.
What did you think was different about the performance?
Well, we scored early, like other than like we took our chances. Like that was the difference. Because normally what's been happening is we have as many chances as the other team, they take them and then they go and score and we can't, and that's it. So this time we got the early-ish goals.
Mhm.
Wasn't that early, but you know what, we got the first goals. Motherwell were shite as well. But they're on the beach. They've nothing to play for either. Like we've nothing to play for. Like neither of us. So I'm not. It is like you came on like when I talk about pre-season games and that how I prefer not to. And I think that's what that was last night. It was like a testimonial. It was like a testimonial match. You know, with the way or that reaction at the end and that. Even got the penalty that's soft as shite. And you go, oh well, it's like let them take it. Let one of them take it. Okay, we'll get another one. Let the other one take the other one.
Lewis kicked the ball away, didn't he? Like he was like, oh fuck.
So he said they might have taken it if it got it at 3-0 rather than 0-0 or 1-0. But I'm not reading much into it, like, you know, and
no.
She made the good point there about David Gray's record being really good, especially when you think it. He's generally picking up a team that's on a downer because we've just sacked a manager in all the games. So you take the 2 losses out of it. If you want the Celtic Cup final and the Villa game, especially, I don't know the other 2 he lost, or if the stats are even right, Shay. But it has been picking the team up when we've been shit, wanting to empty the whole lot. Because every time we've said, we need a mass clear out, we need to empty the. Every time we're sacking a manager, we go through this cycle, and he's picked the team up and got wins.
Aye, that's a good point. Shay, you had your hand up there. I'll bring you in.
I was meant to ask. I'm not sure how many you've seen it, but like Block 7 had a sort of thingy during the game. Had to get like stewards up to speak to him. So I was wondering if anyone, if any of you have seen anything about it.
It was a pagger, apparently. I think they were going fighting.
That's what I heard as well. I read on Twitter that they were fighting, but I also heard a few chants of the like calling them pedos.
All right.
So I didn't want to say anything, but I just wasn't sure if any of you like seen anything.
I think him what it was about, but I for somebody who was an eyewitness for it, again it was a fight, but did not get the details out of what it was for. Charlie, you got your hands up there?
It was just on call asking who the other games were against. So he lost away to Livy after we sacked, who was it? Maloney, and then he lost away to Dundee as well. But other than that, he's only lost to Celtic and Villa. So it's pretty decent when you look at it, especially when we're bottom 6 that season as well. So
yeah.
Aye. Dave, you get your hand up?
Yeah, it was just a couple of points there. It was I thought it was quite refreshing going to a game where there wasn't like the usual negativity and apprehension of going to a game. It was just like we all go to football, or we used to go to football to have a reasonably good time, forget about life, blow off a bit of steam and hopefully get a result. And it felt like a normal game. What no for this season certainly, but it felt very different to what it had been. And just touching on like the coming back to Ben Kenzel, I think this appointment's going to take a massive amount of pressure off Ben. And when we think about the statement Malky gave with his job description, I don't think anybody in the club wrote that. I think Malky wrote that. I don't think anybody at the club knew what we actually needed in all these areas we needed to kind of like excel in or kind of focus on. And I think he's been about the club for a few weeks and probably getting access via maybe Malcolm. I don't know that, but I think he's saying this is what the club's needs and this is what I'm going to do. And I think he's wrote his own job description, and I think it'll just take a massive amount of pressure off everybody at the club. And if we can forget about all that kind of stuff and leave Saturdays to Saturdays, and the new manager comes, I think Dave Gray will get a fair crack of the whip. I think people will be far more tolerant of him making mistakes than an experiment coming in and it going wrong. It might be the best thing to just get the fan base kind of united, and even if it is a slow burner, and as long as we're making progress. But one thing's for sure, there's a lot of players required, because if you looked at that team last night, a lot of people leaving, and there's a big job to be done in the team, and it's not going to be easy.
No. Colin, I don't know if you're about to say something. I'll come to John.
I was just Sorry, John. I was just going to say, I thought what you said there about Malky with the job description, it was just how Matthew described it on Longbangers, so we now know Malky listens.
But aye, they could have saved themselves a lot of hassle and money.
Yeah.
Just fucking £3 a month. £3 a month, that's all it takes. And you could have had that information.
Would have got that. Yeah, last September you would have got that.
Aye. John?
It was a couple of quick things, but in terms of David Gray taking over, Pat Stanton did the job and lost it. John Blackley did the job and lost it. Turnbull eventually left. I mean, we've got lots of great players who are not thought of any less by the fans that view them as players because they tried. Sozzi, the most recent example. The other thing I was going to say is that I thought Louis, in his post-match interview, clearly with all the shackles off, turned around and saying that's what Hibs can be at their best. I mean, the idea that there was players sitting in the dressing room sort of a bit sort of taken aback by a half full Easter Road.
Yep.
I mean, let's face it, it was a good reception. It was positive. The fans that were there, but that was half full. And if there was people sitting there going, "Wow, where did that come from?" Then actually, hopefully, there's hope for keeping my leader.
Yeah. Right, I'll get some YouTube comments and then we'll look to wrap up shortly. So, where have we got to? So, James Morrison says, can't help wondering if Hibs would have done better this season if they just left Gray in charge instead of appointing Monte. Vince Robinson said, what are folks' favourite Hanlon and Stevenson memories? So, I'll hold that one. We'll close with that. I'll come round and get a memory from each of you. Joe Leslie said, as Hibs fans, have we hit a point where we're going to moan or complain about every appointment that the board make? It sort of feels like it's like the default position. It feels like that, eh? So hopefully not. Hopefully we sort of, particularly with the managers, is one that everybody gets behind. Ian Tockle said, if the club do well, surely the feel-good factor in fans will return in numbers and all will be forgotten. After all, we just want a competitive team on the pitch. And what fans want and what are deliverable are two different things. James Morrison says, don't mind Kensel staying on to run the commercial side, but paying him top dollar for Hibs is a bit silly if he's only doing half the job. David Jungs is, I'm not going to read his comments, he's a Hearts fan that tunes in every week and then likes to leave a wee comment. Why would you do that? I can't think of anything I would like worse or less than listen to the Hearts podcast.
Get back to Baby Reindeer. Hey, get where you go.
Even kind of the wee clip, and there was like a few fans coming to the loss at the cup final on penalties to Celtic, and there was a boy going, "We're gonna do it, we're gonna fucking do it," and they did do it. Even that had like appeal for about 30 seconds, and then I never watched it again. I think I might have. No offense to you, David, and I can't folk Sharkbirds are like obsessed in that around. It's not for me to say that, but I think I might you with that. Ian says, prefer a more experienced manager, but if it's Sir David Gray, I've no problem. Callum Andrews says, Gray showed great tactical awareness, and if you noticed in the second half, every free kick and goal kick went long, took no chances of playing short free kicks to let Motherwell back into it. And Jack said to give David Gray a chance as manager, as he knows how to set the team up that can do the job. Seen it last night. Also seen it the last few times he's been caretaker manager. And he also asked who thinks we may struggle to get an experienced manager to work with a director of football. We'll maybe take that for another one. It's Hanlon and Stevenson, guys. John, you're top left. Best memories, so you can either do a collective or one for each.
I was going to say, it's almost like redemption. So if you go back to the Tynecastle game, I mean, Stevenson's header in the first half that perfectly set it up for the Hearts player to put it in the far corner. And I mean, and had us all going down, and then that AJ got to run around having his tadger. 2-0 down, but ultimately Handling went and dug out his foul. So, yeah, for everybody who was slagging off Rocky the other week, go and have a look at Stevenson's header for that game.
And that's your highlight is 600 appearances. The one that you
I felt like, I mean, if I'm honest, I've seen him just be really steady. I wasn't at Ibrox when he got the cracking goal. I've seen him fight that corner, as I said the other week. I've seen him at development games. Let me fight that corner for the young players round about him. I met him. I was lucky enough to go to a sponsors evening because somebody let me take their place. And he was an absolute gentleman to come and get a picture because Slivka hadn't turned up, so came in. So it just, everything in terms of the man, it just felt funnier to sort of put a story forward where his mate dug him out.
Aye, nice one. Charlie, same question to you.
Yeah, I think Stevenson, my favourite memory of him was when he scored at Ibrox. I didn't see that coming. Left backs didn't normally score big rakers like that, so that was a great goal. And I think Hanlon was probably interviewing him when I used to do Strong Opinion Hibs, just to talk to him for about an hour, I chat to him about his career. And he's a genuine, lovely guy. Most people that follow me on Twitter know that I wasn't a big fan of Hanlon for years, but I think as he's come towards the end of his Hibs career, I've learned to appreciate him a lot more. And I just think he's an absolute legend, and we'll miss him sorely.
Spot on. Tracy?
God, it's just so many. I think just obviously being able to see them off the pitch as well and working with them, they're just genuinely great guys. I think my first day when I actually got paid and it was not voluntary, they both came in and gave me a hug, and I thought, oh, I can breathe now. And just kind of put me at rest. But then I think I'm on the pitch, well, obviously Paul, making it 2 each at Tiny, it's just unforgettable, that one. And obviously Lewis going back to 2007, and I was there with my stepdad as well. He didn't quite make the 2016. He passed away January before we won the Scottish Cup. So that was special, and obviously Lewis had such a great game because he got man of the match. And I even remember his first game, saying to my stepdad, is he even old enough to play? He had such a baby face.
And the haircut. Aye.
I know, he's not aged much.
No. Dave, same question to you.
I don't know what game it is, but I've got this kind of image of Louis standing over somebody, and I'm feeling it's a Hearts player, and he's absolutely screaming at the player, and he just really epitomises what you want a Hibs player to be. And some people will say his final ball wasn't great, but he gave absolutely everything. And if everybody done that in the team, we would be a very good team. And as for Paul, I think just with the dignity he's carried himself, especially this season being treated how he has, I think rather unfairly, especially when we've been so bad at the back and a stubborn manager or wherever the problems come. It's an absolute credit to him and his family how he's carried himself, and I think his family should be really proud, and a great servant to the club. And I just though I don't know if we'll see the likes again of that pair in my lifetime. I don't.
Spot on. Jeff?
With you.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah. The highlight for Paul is I was at his debut against Inverness in the Cup. Dean Shields hat-trick, young boy. I don't know who did he replace Louis that day? Was Louis injured? I can't remember. Anyway, and to be there for his first game and be there for his last game was, and everything in between, the Tynecastle, There's so many good moments. Lifting the cup at Hampden. So that's the sort of Paul highlights. Louis Cup final in 2007. And he's just been a 7 out of 10, hasn't he? You know, there's nothing. I wasn't at Ibrox for his goal there. I was at Easter Road when he scored against Rangers, but we got beat 2-1 because of Rocky's mistake. That's Rocky Marciano, not Rocky.
Yeah.
2 goalkeeping howlers. That probably would have been a highlight. But Lewis, they've just been great servants. You know, you never hear a whiff of any controversy or scandal or anything. Absolutely ideal ambassadors for the club. That's
Speak
my
to
memory.
somebody leaks some WhatsApp
I've
messages.
got a picture of the new manager and his assistant that's going to help him. Okay, you can see it.
There we go.
That's it. You've heard it here first.
Nice one. James, how about you, Lewis and Paul?
Paul's an easy one. That goal, that song, that's all it comes down to. I mean, I hope they keep it going. Got to keep it going. For Lewis, it's his unwavering desire for his whole career. The boy never gave up. How many left backs has he seen off? Every manager, I think, since I've been watching, brought in a left back that they preferred in Louis. Until now, has seen them all off. And if Jordan can last that long, then hats off to him. But just Lewis's longevity and desire, hat off to the boy.
Brilliant. Shape, how about you?
So I've got it's one for both, but I don't know if any of you have seen it, but like that, I used to play for like that. That Team United, that the Community Foundation that have done a partnership, the autism team. I used to play for them, and Paul Hammond and Stevenson helped set up the Hibs autism team in the world's first autism league,
Brilliant.
and I played for Hibs in it, so I've got I had respect for them before, but they just totally went down in my book. Just legends. Sorry, made it in the cup final, but it's probably like put like my total respect on the 2 guys because they put effort into something I enjoyed, and it helped me in my personal life. So if they do watch this, thank you, and I hope all the best.
Brilliant. And Colin, you can be last up.
Has everybody said something there?
Aye.
It's definitely Hanlon. Hanlon's one's definitely the goal at Tynecastle. I was there that day of my birthday as well. I never celebrated the goal and for a draw as well. Imagine celebrating a draw, eh? But it was fucking outstanding. But for the 2 of them, what was when we lifted the cup, when Doolan sent the 2 of them up beside Gray, that photo I've got on my wall upstairs, the 2 of them being there to lift the cup. That's the one I remember. You know, you can remember Stevenson scoring goals. Not many but you can remember him scoring a goal or putting a tackle in or whatever. But my memory is the 2 of them uplifting the cup, right next to Sir David. So,
aye, you see Lewis with the carries Tim's head back, proper roar, eh? Aye, I think just to echo the point, but like no seeing the links again probably in our lifetime, and I don't think Hibs could have asked for 2 better people to have that association with them. The 2 of them have represented the club with like almost perfectly, like just with complete dignity and honour and respect, and they've not been in trouble. They've never brought any shame on the club. It's just been, they've been proper ambassadors, and it's like I hope, and I'm sure they will, but I hope there's a connection with the club and the 2 of them, you know, for as long as possible. Because it'd be a sad day when there's no connection at all.
What do you think happens if the new manager signs Hanlon when he comes in?
Well, he's not getting 2 leaving presents. Say like
that's what I was thinking.
If they've done a
It's
whip
wee
round
bit
and that, like you can't. I'm not staying back a second time. Like it's fucking pushing it, then, isn't it?
Because see, if it was McInnes, and I know I'm going to finish because I've got Tesco shop arriving soon, right? But
good.
if it is McInnes has tried to sign him before.
Aye.
And he'd probably try to sign him right now for his current team. So if McInnes was to come in, he's likely to say just stay, and then we've got to go through all that again.
I take that, to be fair. Anyway, right. Thanks, guys, for jumping on again tonight. It's been a really good and fast hour. Like that sort of flew by. Well, it did for me anyway. Hope it did for you too. We'll be back on Sunday. If you're a subscriber, you'll get Sunday night. We'll talk about the Livingston game, and we'll have extra time out next week. Again, I have to apologise. Hubwave have still not managed to fix the issue. If I'm totally honest with you, I'm probably not going to do a relationship with Hubwave any favours here. I would cancel on Hubwave and subscribe on Patreon. And just switch over, because I don't know how long it's going to take them to fix it. It's really easy to sign up, and you do get a free trial as well if you want to check it out.